Good evening. This is the City Council meeting of January 20th, 2015. If you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call upon the clerk to read the roll.
Councilmember Alcoff.
Here.
Councilmember Ellison. Here. Councilmember Hall.
Here.
Councilmember Mayer.
Here.
And Mayor Hodges.
Here. Thank you. Second item is approval of the agenda. Any changes there?
I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda under new business a resolution to eliminate legal counsel from the law firm of Abbott and Nicholson, John McGlinski, and pursue legal counsel from previous law firm that we used to negotiate contracts before Markow.
Second. There's a motion and a second to add an item to new business. Anything different?
Do we have any information on this? I know you don't like surprises. This is
Well,
a surprise to me.
Well, there wasn't a lot of time. I went to the Mercury meeting a week ago today in Lansing and listened to the findings that they ruled on the appeals, and it was a total waste of money and time to appeal that. If any of you would have read the judgment and what happened in that trial, you'd have known that it was a waste of time. I witnessed firsthand. I've only met the person one time.
We're just adding, that's why I wanted to add it to the agenda.
That's why I want to add it to the agenda.
I don't have anything in
Okay.
reason other than.
Well, no.
Okay, I'm
Well,
just curious.
you've dealt with this person for 3 years. I've dealt with him had to not even deal with him because you didn't even.
We're not going to have a discussion here.
Yeah.
There's.
But I'm telling her why, so
Why
she
you want
knows.
to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
And I'd like to add it to the agenda.
All right. There's a motion on the floor to add this item to the agenda. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? No.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Yes, I would like to add to the agenda as well, in the closed session. I'd like to add that we finish the city manager's evaluation and discuss his performance, official performance.
I'll second that.
I moved and seconded that we review the city manager's goals and performance,
And his evaluation.
his evaluation.
That we take.
And we tabled that in December.
We do.
Yes, we did.
So,
Do we have anything?
Yes.
It's just a discussion. I
Yes.
don't have any
Yes, just
papers or
a discussion.
anything.
Yep.
okay. All those in favor of adding that to the agenda?
Yes.
Those opposed?
Yes, I'm opposed. No.
Mr. Ballmer?
Yeah, I'd be opposed or no.
Okay.
Yes to the no.
It passes. We will add that on a 3-2.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
And motion seconded to adopt the agenda with the addition in the closed session. All those in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Approval of the minutes of previous meetings, January 5th, regular meeting as well as a closed session. The minutes of the regular meeting will entertain first.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting on January 5th.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 5th. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? And the closed session have been circulated. Changes there.
I move that we approve the minutes of the closed session on January 5th as well.
And I will second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the closed session minutes of January fifth. All those in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Accounts payable, they're in the packet there for our review. Any questions or concerns?
I move that we approve the accounts payable as presented.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the accounts payable. For this, we need a roll call.
Councilmember Altough,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilmember Mayer,
Yes.
and Mayor Hodges.
Yes. Thank you. Item 5, citizen, comments that don't appear in the agenda. If you'd like to address the council, this would be the time to do that. Just step up to the podium and state your name.
Evening. My name is Ralph Bracken, Cedar Springs, I'm a city worker. I'm here before you today as a DPW workers representative. I would like to provide you with information regarding current individual contracts as described by the MERC Board of Appeals, and respectfully ask you to uphold the city's portion of said contracts. Currently, 5 individual contracts are held between multiple DPW workers and the city of Lowell. These contracts are similar to the city manager's employment contract in that they have very specific terms that each party must comply with. One such contract is described in the MERC decision in regards to Mr. Todd Phillips' $1 per hour pay increase for obtaining a state water certification. The MERC Appeals Board did not grant the approval of the $1 per hour increase because they did not have the jurisdiction to do so. They did not say that the city manager was correct by withholding this increase, only they did not have the jurisdiction to rule on the personal contract. Judge O'Connor did rule on this contract and stated that the city is obligated to uphold this contract. Just because it was found that Judge O'Connor did not have the jurisdiction to rule on said contract does not take away from the fact that a competent, well-respected judge made a ruling on this matter and found in favor of the employee. 3 of the 5 contracts are as the same as this contract earlier described. The other 2 are in regards to a tool allowance that has been in effect for almost 13 years that the city manager has recently denied paying, and a contract with a water plant superintendent. In this contract, the one with the water plant superintendent, Mr. Howe agreed to increase our current water plant superintendent's rate of pay after a probation period and if the employee obtained said goals that were clearly described in said contract. The employee did obtain these goals and approached the city manager after the probation period, where Mr. Howe explained that he was not going to uphold the city's end of the contract merely because the employee joined the union. This is the same reason Mr. Howe stated for withholding the $1,000 pay increase, which is now proven to be in violation of PERA law. In conclusion, once again, I'm respectfully asking the council to direct the city manager to uphold these current contracts until a collective bargaining contract can take their place. Thank you.
Hello there.
Hi.
My name is Rachel Van Phelan. My husband is Brian Van Phelan. He is the superintendent of the water treatment plant here in the city of Lowell. I've never gotten up here to speak before tonight because I did not want my husband's employment here to suffer. However, I feel I no longer can sit back. For the past 3.5 years, my husband, along with his fellow co-workers, have attempted to become part of a union. As yet, no agreement has been met. As you know, the City of Lowell appealed Judge Doyle O'Connor's ruling on October 11, 2013. Last week, Tuesday, January 13, 2015, the appeal was reviewed and the Michigan Employee Relations Commission denied the city's appeal. They, in fact, upheld most of Judge O'Connor's rulings, and main sticking point being Mr. Mark Howe, the city manager, has not been bargaining in good faith with the city workers. I could go further in detail, however, I'm not here to rehash old news or point fingers at anybody. Instead, it is a time to move forward in a productive manner regarding contract negotiations. Mr. Howe, you've mentioned in the past that you'd like to build a team. And as a team leader, you, Mr. Howe, need to lead by example. One way you can do that would be to step down as the representative for union negotiations at this time. I implore you, the City Council, to handle all further contract negotiations and settle a contract that upholds the employer's rights as much as the employees. A contract that includes the words fair, just, and reasonable, as this has yet been put in the context of any union negotiations thus far. A union is defined as an action of joining one thing to another. So let's do just that. Thank you for allowing me to talk tonight, and please take my suggestion into consideration when you meet to discuss union negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address the council? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, old business. We've got 2 items, strategic goals report, as well as pending council projects report. And Mr. Howe.
Thank you. There is nothing new on strategic goals report. Under pending council on line disposal, I'm going to be forwarding to you a copy of a letter and a report that we submitted to the DEQ on that subject. So that'll be coming to you. And that's all I have.
All right. Any questions or concerns about any of those matters? Moving on then to item 7, new business, review of mixed use ordinance.
The Planning Commission has spent several months developing language for a mixed-use district. Mixed use allows for a combination of residential and commercial uses in areas where there's already a transition between commercial uses such as the downtown and residential uses such as a neighborhood. In addition to developing the language, the Planning Commission also identified an area to be rezoned as mixed use. They've taken a very deliberate approach to developing this section of the ordinance. Letters have been sent to property owners. There was an open house that was held. There was a walking tour of the downtown on a Saturday morning. And following all of that, they set a public hearing in January. They held a public hearing a week and a day ago. And they've now transferred or recommended to you that you amend this section of the zoning ordinance. In keeping with the deliberate approach, we presented it to you tonight, but we've not presented it to you in ordinance form, so that you've got a couple weeks between now and your next meeting. We plan on bringing it to you in ordinance form, but if you have any questions in the meantime, either tonight or between now and the next meeting, please feel free to let me know, and we'll be sure to get those answered for you. But our plan is to come in 2 weeks, or 13 days, and bring an ordinance to you to make these changes.
Thank you for that item. And item B is developmental liquor license.
There is a new business coming to Lowell, and the business is Main Street Barbecue, and they are looking at purchasing a developmental liquor license. Developmental liquor licenses are allowed within the DDA district based on the amount of investment that you had within that district over a 5-year period. In the previous 5-year period, we've had $32 million of private and public investment in the DDA. The licenses are allowed at a rate of 1 for every 200,000 of investment, so you can do the math and imagine that there are quite a few licenses that are available, but they do need approval of the City Council in order to move forward. So that's what's before you, is whether or not you would allow Main Street Barbecue to purchase a developmental liquor license at 210 East Main Street.
Any questions, concerns?
What did the other local liquor license things have to say about that?
I have a feeling we're going to hear from one pretty soon here.
Okay. Mr. Larkin? Yes, you may.
Mike Larkin, owner of Larkin's Restaurant here in town. I'd like to address the council, maybe give them some history on these developmental licenses, so that, I don't know if any of you were on the council and when Mr. Gilmore came to town and asked for a developmental license. And he came before the DDA and asked them if they would approve him for a license. The DDA approved him for that based on the fact that he was a known restaurateur, been an established business, owned several restaurants, and the DDA, I am a member of the DDA, felt that he would bring in new business to town, and it's proved correct. But at that time, you could not transfer a license in the county, in Kent County, between municipalities. In other words, you had a license available in Ada, you couldn't bring that to Lowell. Kent County was the only county in the state that had that provision. Since that time, the state, working with the county, has changed that law so that you may purchase a liquor license that is an escrow in the county and move it anywhere in the county. And at the present time, there's over 30, 35 licenses available in the county of Kent that can be moved anywhere. Now, I asked the council to look at this and present this developmental license, but as Mr. Howell pointed out, there's been a lot of development in town. So if Ella's Coffee Shop would like to serve wine and come before the council, would they be approved? Okay. If somebody buys Kaiser's and decides that they want to sell beer and wine and they come to the council, will they be approved? There's Mint Fusion down the road that doesn't offer alcoholic beverages. Would they be approved? And if you start doing this randomly, you increase the value of the businesses that are already in this town. Sneakers, Century Post, people who have been in this town for over 30, 40 years. And I'd just like you to consider that as part of your overall consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion? Who is it?
Aaron and Epps, property owners. Yeah, they're here and can answer any questions that you may have.
They've yet to apply for the license then? Is that why it's blank?
We have to have approval before we can send in the
Okay.
application.
The DDA is going to be paying for this then?
No, the DDA has not been asked, and I'm not planning on asking.
No,
the
it's
DDA.
our expense.
And the only way they can get a liquor license is to apply for this special license?
No.
They could apply for another, I'm asking Laura.
I'm sorry.
Our city manager. Is there another way they could get a license if we didn't approve a special license? I don't know.
I don't know how familiar you are with the process. What Mr. Larkin said is, I believe, correct in terms of licenses and escrow. I do know that part of the application is that for developmental license that they have to go through the process of showing the Liquor Control Commission whether or not there are escrow licenses available. So I know they have to go through that process with the Liquor Control Commission. But Steve, go ahead.
Developmental liquor licenses are based on an area that's set aside by the DDA. Through my research, I was able to find out that when you're based on population for beer, wine, and liquor, under the old rules, you could only have 4 for the city of Lowell. When our population was over 4,000, we have since dropped, but we still maintain 4 beer, wine, and liquor licenses. So with the population being what it is, one of the avenues that they can pursue is the developmental liquor license, and that was in their best interest, which is what was recommended to them.
Any other discussion?
I just think I need a little bit more input on this before I could make a decision. I didn't get to talk to everyone about it, but I don't know if, the businesses that are here, all except the Gilmore Group, all purchased their liquor licenses, and that has a value to it, and if we start handing out more, I think in this way, all it's gonna do is devalue their liquor license. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to get a little bit more input. I wish I would have had a little, something in my packet that showed where other communities were doing it and how it was working and the pros and cons. And I'd just like to do a little bit more research.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to say that the investment in that building is similar to what they did at Flat River Grill. I mean, there's a lot of dollars being invested in a huge portion of Main Street that if they don't get this, probably wouldn't be maybe as successful. I think it's a lot of dollars that could really help our Main Street. It's not like there wasn't a place there before that didn't serve alcohol. So, a little more information, I mean, would maybe be helpful. However, I'm thinking that's a huge investment in our community. And so I would,
Mark,
take that into
do
consideration.
you want me to answer questions?
I
I can come up and answer questions if you like.
It's up to the chair.
Hi, I'm Erin Banks. We've been working with Greg Canfield, as you know, who bought the Moose Lodge. And to answer the first comment, this is not just handed to us. There's a $22,000 investment. We do have to purchase the license. It's not a gimme. It's not that it's approved through the DDA, but it still costs money. You still have to pay the state for the license. And yes, there is a very considerable investment on Greg's side and then our side also. I think the concept of a DDA is to help develop and grow an area, a community, and that's our goal, is to be a part of that. I think that there's been a lot of interest in a new restaurant in this area. The demographics show that it can really use it, because certainly it isn't just the city, the people who live in the city. This is pulling from all over the place. Barbecue is a very hot item right now. It's a pull. That being said, it would not happen or be successful without that liquor license. I've been in the industry a long time, and without that, we really wouldn't be able to justify opening a restaurant here. So it is important. It's part of it. It's not, we're not trying to bring in some big party crowd. It's going to be a restaurant closing at 11, 12 o'clock. Avoiding, I've had talks with Steve, avoiding all of that history that's been in the past, with certain places being open too late. So that's not our goal. Our goal is to be able to offer beer, wine, and liquor to our clients that want to come in and enjoy a fantastic restaurant. Any other questions?
Excuse me, do you have any idea what a liquor license would cost?
You mean if we could get it out of escrow from, it depends. Sometimes if people are battling over them, they usually run between, around 40,000.
Okay.
Because they're selling them.
Right.
So you can end up in a bidding war, there can be an issue, people trying to outbid each other. But I really don't believe they're available in Lowell because they're going to look at just the city population.
Okay.
And actually, we won't get approved by the state if it is available. The state will say, no, you cannot use this DDA license, you have to purchase it from escrow. So the state will do that work for you. I mean, if it's available in escrow, we have to purchase it that way. The DDA is the second option.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing, if I may, that you should know is that with developmental licenses, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they are specific to the business and specific to the location.
Yes.
So if
They
this
cannot be
business goes out of business and another restaurant, we're going to come in, even at that same location, then if they wanted a liquor license and they wanted a developmental liquor license, they'd have to purchase a new one.
Is there a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the development of liquor license for Main Street Barbecue, 210 East Main.
I'll support that.
Been moved and
Second.
seconded to approve this, and it is a resolution, so as such, we need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Eltob,
No.
Councilmember Ellison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilmember Mayer,
No.
Mayor Hodges.
Is that all right? Yes. It passes 3-2. Moving on then, the monthly reports, item 8, they're in our packet there. Any concerns or questions regarding all the departments and their activities last month? Seeing none, we'll move on to council comments. Mr. Mayor.
None right now.
Thank you. Mr. Alda.
We had an airport meeting last week, and it went real well. There was a little mishaps last night, but there was one in Hudsonville this last weekend, and there was one in Cadillac too. It's quite not common, but it happens. That type of airplane is built to get through mishaps, and it did. That is one of the reasons that I asked a few months ago that we look into the company that we contracted to do that job out there that didn't do their job, because if they would have done their job, this wouldn't have happened. Because trees would have been trimmed different, that gas station wouldn't be there, and their approach would be better. And I still think we need to look into that, because they need some help out there to make it a little bit safer. And that company dropped the ball. The council dropped the ball, or not. I don't know if I was on the council when that was paid for, but as far as we can see, there was never a pick list done. I don't know who authorized them to be paid, but I do think we need to look into that, because if nothing else, they should at least give us our money back, because they didn't do anything for us, but causes problems. The other thing is I did go to the MERC meeting in Lansing last week. I listened to the judges make their determinations. I know you didn't want to talk about Mr. Migulinski's company, but I can now. I've been lied to by him, by Mark Howell, and just about everybody when it comes to union negotiations. There's only one group of people that can tell me that I can't attend one of them meetings, and that is the citizens of Lowell. The council has no right to tell me I can't attend a negotiation meeting. There's a lot of deception that's been put upon the council. Evil and spiteful things. I seen that man in action at that meeting, and I can see why there's no contract. I agree with the lady that talked tonight. A fair and just contract. There's no reason. This has been going on for 3 years. There's no reason that we can't mirror the police department's contract. You're talking about someone saying that it's going to cost us too much money to do that. 3/4 of the people that are working for us right now are going to retire in a few years. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. And why would you want this to drag on? I mean, we've already had someone retire early because he couldn't take the strain. And I know it for a fact that that's what it was, because I talked to the gentleman. The other thing is there's no one that can tell me that I can't talk to any city employee about anything that I want to. I do not talk about their job, I do not ask them to do things for me, and I do not talk about the contract. But their day-to-day operations, I should be able to ask for them. I cannot even go downstairs in this building anymore like I used to be able to and ask for a little bit of information that only takes them a second to do, where I have to go through Mr. Howell to ask for that. And I think that's a crock. It takes too long, it takes his time, and usually when I get the information, it's not correct. Just like, you know, and I apologize for that lady about the liquor license deal. I just think there should have been a little more information. I do welcome them to town, but there's been so much deception about this contract. It's terrible. And you, all three of you sitting there, have just ignored it. And that the firm that we've hired has wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars. That we just bought a backhoe, and we could have paid for that backhoe in cash. And it's ridiculous that we let this continue. And I think it's time for it to stop. And that's all I have to say tonight.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hall.
Planning Commission approved the mixed use ordinance, which we forwarded to council for our edification at the next meeting, I guess. Lowell Area Recreation Authority, the engineers have produced a final document, and it will be reviewed by the Lowell board next Monday at the same time that we're having a city workshop. But Perry Beecham and I see eye to eye on the LARA agreement, so I'll defer to his judgment on that. Other than that, I have nothing.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Ellison?
The only committee that I was on met the Historic District Commission, and they did approve a small grant to assist Larkin's Other Place with some repairs on the old Strand Theater. And that was about it. No other comments.
Okay, thank you. Lowell Light and Power Board did meet last week, and the biodigester continues to move closer to full operation. It has started to create a little bit of electricity and put that into the pipeline or online. Let's see, we're not receiving waste from the lighthouse just yet. That transition is expected to begin this month, piping the waste from lighthouse to the biodigester. And since the facility is not fully operational in terms of generating, there may be times over the next few weeks where there is excess gas that needs to be burned off, just like what we see when we drive by Alma. Little extra gas is not stored, but rather is burned. So the board members reviewed their policies, continued on to section 6, engineering and operating policies at that board meeting last week. There's more discussions that will continue at their next board meeting. And a month ago, Mr. Beecham brought an article out of the Grand Rapids Press that suggested links between smart meters and certain health concerns. And it was determined that there shouldn't be anything conclusive between health issues and these electromagnetic fields that are sometimes created with the smart meters. So all that being said, it was a good meeting. And the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors met last Tuesday. Most of their discussion was around their annual dinner of recognizing various businesses within our community, and they had quite a discussion. I can't say anything about it other than they did select some businesses to receive awards at their annual dinner, which will be held on May 20th at the River's Edge. And the person of the year, if you have candidates that you'd like to nominate, submit that to the chamber by February 6th, so for the person of the year. And Look Memorial Fund will meet in April. All that being said, finishes of what I have. So we'll move on to the city manager's report, Mr. Hall.
Thank you. We held our first communications meeting last week. That was with supervisors and included representatives from the wastewater treatment plant and Light and Power. The purpose of the meeting is to enhance communication among supervisors on projects and issues to build a more cohesive team approach to our service to the city. As been discussed, the Michigan Employment Relations Commission met last week to review the recommended order regarding the unfair labor practice charge filed by the IBEW in 2013. I think it's important to note that that was not an appeal. That was part of the normal process that a administrative law judge issues a recommended order, and then that recommended order goes to a three-member panel, a three-member commission, to then make a decision as to whether or not they uphold the recommended order, whether or not they reject it, or whether or not they modify it. So it was not an appeal, it's part of the normal process. And as a part of the normal process, we then submitted a brief to the commission, and the result of that was that the commission decided to uphold the recommended order with the exception of the $1 per hour pay increase for water certifications, as has mentioned earlier. I'll forward a copy of the final order. We don't have that yet. I'll forward a copy of that to you when we receive it. Each day, I make decisions about the operations and the future of this organization affecting the citizens here. In this case, the decision I made to withhold a $1,000 off-schedule pay increase was held to be in violation of the Public Employment Relations Act. I apologize for that decision, and I apologize for my actions relating to that decision. My only hope is that it does not cast a shadow over the many great things we can accomplish by working together. And I appreciate the comments from the earlier speaker that I hope this is a day that we can start moving forward and we can start pulling together, because I do believe we have a great team. I think we all make mistakes. I certainly made one here, probably bigger than I would like, but I made a mistake, and I apologize for that, and I hope we can move forward. We did interview 6 candidates today for DPW director. We narrowed the field down to 3 candidates, and they will be undergoing second round interviews on Monday. And then just an update on the crash at the airport. The pilot is in good condition, still is in the hospital for monitoring, but it is in good condition at the hospital, so we certainly wish him well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Appointments, there's still a vacancy for the alternate position on the Board of Review. And Construction Board of Appeals, sadly, Ray Zanstra, who has served on that, he passed away last Thursday, so we'll be looking. Ray served this community in many different ways. He was on the Planning Commission and very, very involved. But Ray's position on the Construction Board of Appeals is open, and so if you'd be interested in serving on that, contact the clerk or myself for either of the jobs on the Construction Board of Appeals or the Board of Review. And with that,
I move that we go into closed session under the Open Meetings Act to discuss union negotiations and personnel.
I will second.
moved and seconded to go into closed session, and for this, the roll call, please.
Councilmember Alcott?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellison?
Yes.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilmember Mayer?
Yes.
And Mayor Hodges?
Yes.